Hey everybody, welcome to Marketing Monday. I'm Chris Wharton from Build STR Wealth, and I'm glad you guys are with us today to start off the new year 2025. This is the first Marketing Monday of 2025, and we're excited to have you here. Today, I really want to talk about some of the prep work that you want to do coming off of the holiday season. As Bill always mentions, that Christmas is kind of the key booking window as people start looking after the Christmas holiday into 2025 to look at upcoming vacations or things going on, or spring break is typically the next big holiday thing. And so I want to talk a little bit about a few key things that we look for as we're kind of moving out of the holiday and into the new year and what we're trying to do. And really it's photos, it's your listing description, it's looking at, are you running ads, your marketing, what are some things to look at as you're kind of leaning into the next gap of season, and kind of how all that comes together. And so I'm going to pull a couple listings up. We're going to go through a few things, and I'm showing you one of my favorite things that I like to do is actually taking some of the reviews from a listing and actually kind of see what's kind of some of the common stuff that people say they're positive, with some stuff people say they're negative that we need to fix. And then how can we leverage that into the next year, right? And so really any property has some downtime. As you're kind of looking through it, now is a great time to make those adjustments to kind of get things ready as people get ready to book spring break and summer and all the other vacations as they're planning. As a personal note, I'm already planning my vacations for next year is kind of why we always think of this. So I'm going to present my screen here. And Bill will be able to hop in with us in a second. There we go. Select my window. It makes life easier. There we go. Make me a little bit smaller in here. So this is, I'm sorry, Bill is actually calling me right now. So give me 1 second. Hey everyone, sorry about that. We're also doing an inner circle training right now. The Billy question about a Zoom with. I'm so sorry for that. So as I was saying, now's a great time as we're looking through properties, as we're looking through our properties, and we're looking at kind of what are some of the things we need to update, what are some of the things we need to change. Is it time to change photos out for next season? Is it trying to update certain things? Have we had work done? Are we planning to do work? And so we need to kind of think long term throughout the year and we're starting to lay that groundwork now of, are we going to have do some updates? If so, do we need to have new photos taken of that? Have we done updates that need new photos taken? Do we have new photos we need to put into the mix of things? Do we need to change photos of the property for different seasons? So, for example, a lot of properties might have Christmas up, and now that we're moving out of that season, is it time to take the Christmas photos down, kind of move things around? Lots of those things we kind of plan to look at. But one of my favorite things to do is actually to go through, and I'll come down to all the reviews and click the see all reviews here. This is obviously the reviews for the property. I'm not looking at the reviews for the host. And hey, James, great to see you, buddy. And as we're looking at these, what I can do is I can actually just copy all this text. I'm going to go all the way down, copy all of them. And then I can go into ChatGPT. And I did this early, so I wanted to, just in case, because ChatGPT likes to go down on me. I wrote my favorite things from following reviews. Tell me the top positive sentiments, top negative sentiments, where we should focus your listing description. So what I'm trying to do here, hey, Anthony, good to have you here too, buddy. What I'm trying to do here is use some of the power of ChatGPT And we use it for a few things. One of the things I love to use it for is kind of some of this data wrangling of stuff. What I like to have it do is use and just sort through some data. So really what I'm trying to do is, as I'm looking through our copy, some of our descriptions, some of our photos, what I'm trying to decide is, do I need to adjust some of it to highlight things that we haven't highlighted enough? So if I have a couple guest reviews that say certain things, like highlight the game room, do I need to add more photos of that? Or they highlight something that we don't highlight enough? Or are there negative sentiments that we need to highlight in the photos or in the description or anything like that? And so how to do that, and we'll kind of go through some of its responses here. So the top positive sentiments: spaciousness. Multiple reviews highlight the ample space, even for large groups, without feeling cramped. This is especially important for large family reunions and group trips. So one of our key buyer personas, or the person we're going after for this particular property, is those large church groups, large family reunions, those types of things. So those are, that's great to know. That means we also need to highlight, and kind of see that in this. You got to look at the top 4 or top 5. So you have the exterior looking out into the water, kind of see where it is. Want to highlight kind of that the back exterior, which if we will go into this photo, also highlights the 2 hot tubs. So it's a very unique kind of back area. Third photo, again, the 2 hot tubs looking out because it's super unique for his property. Fourth one's that there's this beautiful dock that's available for them to run a boat and use, obviously. And then this one is kind of the first one that highlights the size of the living area. They can actually fit a ton of people. This is a massive couch. And so reading that, we just want to make sure, okay, we're highlighting it, but maybe we should make sure we highlight and show some of the other spacious areas that we may not highlight. For example, areas where everyone can eat together, certain tables. So if you look at this property, I'll keep kind of going down. You have like this photo that shows this table, and sometimes photos are very misleading. And this is one of those times where like this table looks big, but it's actually massive. Like you can fit a ton of people on each side of it. And the one way we might do that is actually, I believe we have a version of it. I don't know why it's not in the listing, but that has all the placings. We talk about this all the time, that usually like there's good, better, right? And so we had, when we had these photos, hey Bill, let me help bring you in here. We had the photos taken. I took the first round because we're still under renovations before Andrew was able to get out. And then when Andrew came out, I believe he took a photo of this with all the placings. So what I'm doing is I went through for Smith Lake Retreat, and I pulled all the reviews, put them in ChatGPT. And then my point of this is to, one, if there's top positive ones, I want to make sure that we're highlighting those things specifically in the copy, in the pictures, and making sure that we have all those things listed out. If not, that's a great place to add in maybe some additional photos, put them at the end, maybe some additional copy to really highlight those things, but also to look at the negative ones and make some adjustments based on anything that was said that was negative, if it's possible, to kind of nip it in the bud ahead of time. It was bad communication, or we didn't explain something well enough. That happens all the time for different stuff like that. And so the thing I was highlighting is that when someone says spacious, or some people mention that we can do a better job actually explaining that with something simple. Like, it's hard to tell sometimes with photos, especially wide angle things, that scale is hard to see in different things. And so like I can tell there's 4 chairs here, but especially when it comes to benches, that having the placings out, even though we usually would for a photo, is one way to kind of adjust for the scale and actually show, okay, if I can see there's whatever 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 placings at a table, that's easier to tell that 10 people can sit there than just a blank table. That kind of.
And Chris, I think go back to that photo, because I think this is something that's really, really important. A lot of people skim through our photos super quickly. So if they miss the one with the big 18-foot long table over here, mm-hmm. right, and they really focus on this, and then they only see 2 chairs, and you really only see a few inches of the bench on each side, and they may immediately think, oh, that's really probably a very small table. It only sits 4 or 5 people, and there's 4 or 5 benches. Well, it's really critical that we understand as marketers that, one, every image has to stand on its own merit. Everyone does. We can't make an assumption for anybody to draw conclusions. Or it's really like with virtual assistants. We don't want them to think. We don't pay virtual assistants to think. We don't pay our guests to think. We've got to make it crystal clear and easy for them So I think that other table seats like 18, and I think this this area over here, including the table and the stools, sleeps 14. So you put those together, that's 32, I believe. If I'm being accurate, I don't remember what the other table is, but even at that, that is not enough. So because the property sleeps 38, right? So basically, we put a buffet table at the back part, right in this image here, directly to the right is a pass through to walk into the family room. So there's a buffet table that seats, I think, 3, and then there's 2 outdoor dining tables right outside the door that's like 10 each. So you're literally up to 50 with all of those combined together. So just think about, keep in mind that we need to make it simple, blunt, and abundantly clear, because I'm glad I didn't know Chris was picking this. I'm really glad you did, because this is the only property, as you know, Chris, that I own that you cannot sit the entire occupancy in one room. And I don't know that that's expected when you have an occupancy of 38. The only place we've ever stayed that's even remotely possible has been that cabin for the second mastermind meeting, where they probably had 6 or 8 dining tables in this huge, almost looked like a cafeteria off the kitchen. Even the Arkell's house didn't have enough room, to keep everybody. We had 55 mastermind members there in Wisconsin. And the place, I think, slept 78 or 80. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
But there was no way you were putting 70 people, even in the 2 rooms. They were going to have to spread out throughout the house and sit on couches and that type of stuff. So I think the moral of the story here is be crystal clear. A lot of you aren't being specific enough in your copy underneath the images, because there's people that'll just glance at the image and read the copy. Then there's people that won't read the copy and that will just take more time kind of analyzing the images.
No, absolutely. I think one big takeaway I want people to forget is that every image has to stand on its own. You can't expect someone to necessarily even read the bottom, but we do need to have a great explanation of what's in it in every single photo. But we can't expect someone to say, okay, well, they're going to look at all 63 photos. You're like, the one probability of every person looking through every photo is super slim to none. There will be people that do it. There are plenty of people that, like everything else, some people read every single word. Some people look at every single photo. But we have to expect that not everyone's going to make it all the way through. And so the order of importance, and that's where, if you probably noticed, or anyone watching noticed, that when I clicked into the first photo, what didn't happen, I didn't go to rooms, right? I went to the first photo as I'm supposed to go to the first photo, and we can tell the story and actually show the photos in the order we want to show them in. That's so important to show them in the order we want to show them in, to highlight the things we want to highlight, so that we can have control of how they progress through the property, and you're able to highlight the things you want to highlight in the order you want to highlight them in. You're not stuck into like Airbnb's rooms version that doesn't actually give you the control you want. Because then what would normally happen with this is these key exterior areas that we're trying to highlight, the 2 hot tubs, so you can actually have a ridiculous number of people in a hot tub, the exterior back, the exterior with the dock, those would be shoved way down in the rooms that you wouldn't even be able to get to them until way later on, because that's how that particular layout works with Airbnb.
Chris, here's the other interesting point. There is 63 images. So many times I see 100 images for a 3-2 cabin in the Smokies or whatever, right? This is a 11,000, I think it's 11,000 square foot, 10,000, 11,000 square foot house, 12 bedrooms, 9 bathrooms, 3 full living areas. You've got all the sups, you've got the outdoor kitchen, you've got the fire pit, you've got the dock, you've got the hot tubs, all the shit that we have to show here, and there's only 63 images. And I think it's super important. This is going to back to 2015, Jeff Walker, product launch formula. Say everything you have to say and not one word more. Show every image you need to show and not one additional image. You need to think about your images as a conversion opportunity. And if you're putting images in that are not going to drive conversion, then you're wasting space and taking up time, and you're giving something to the guests to look at that they're not really going to be interested in, right? So, I mean, it was hard for me to even include all. I don't have all the laundry in here because guests only have access to 2 sets of laundry. There's a hidden laundry off the bonus room, right? That only the cleaners have access to, but essentially we put laundry on every single floor. So you just think about the things that really aren't going to move the needle for your guests and making a buying decision. Don't include those. Now on the flip side of that, Chris, if this was a pet friendly property, and I know a lot of you out there have pets, and you don't do enough to showcase that you're pet friendly, kind of goes back to when we had Mike McAlix at the mastermind meeting in Montana just over a year ago. And, if you're going to do pet friendly, don't just check the box. In your first 5 images, you should have a picture of Fido, and you should show the dog bed, and you should show the treats, and you should show the toys, whatever you have, showcase all of that stuff. If you are really kid friendly, show the outlets with the outlet plugs, use a collage inside a Canva or something, show the high chair, show the seat, show the kids play area, whatever it is. You really need to accentuate those things that are going to stand out. And I think people just think, oh, I'm going to add this and I'm going to check the box. The only thing that you should be checking the box for is like mosquito nets and, the rice makers and stuff like that really don't move the needle. You don't need to go, take a picture of your lobster pot, I think is one of the things that they ask for, right? You can have a big pot and call it a lobster pot, but you don't need a photo of that. That is something that you just need to check the box for.
Absolutely. Keep in the same thought process. So one of the key things we look at, and this is something I always love these Slacks from you, because Slack's how we communicate with each other, by the way, for anyone who doesn't use Slack as a communication method. But whenever we run into something where we weren't clear with someone, so this is a great example. I had to go through the review. So one person mentioned that, hey, there is a local facilities as a boat ramp, and they described it as subpar in their review. It's just something that we learned from, and we adjusted the messaging in those welcome messages to be, one, clearer of where someone else could launch their boat besides just the one in the community, of other local areas, I think Duncan Marinas were one of the ones we suggested for them to also go to launch their boat. But that was one of those, we see it, it's in a review, we adjusted it in the copy, we adjusted it in the messaging to, one, mitigate future ones. So this review, someone like this may not have this experience again, but also to get ahead of it as someone who may be wanting to bring their own boat or wanting to launch their own boat, that's something they're looking for. And you're already, you're beating them to it. That's their pain point. You're providing the solution ahead of time before they're even asking the question, inside the copy, inside the description, and obviously inside the messaging as well.
100%. And I mean, like with many people, you're in an HOA. I have no control over the boat launch, unfortunately. And it is pretty bad, but people don't want to have to drive. So they have to drive past the boat launch from the house to get to the closest marina, which is Duncan Bridge Marina. And it's about another 10 or 15 minute drive. And then they have to pay $5, each time to launch their boat. So updating that copy and letting them know, hey, we do have, our own boat launch. The HOA does not do a good job of keeping it up. You may or may not want to, use that boat launch. It is accessible to you. It is steep. It is narrow. It is old. Conversely, if you do want to drive an extra 10 or 15 minutes, Duncan Bridge Marina, where you're going to get fuel and everything anyways, is only 10 or 15 minutes away, and it is $5 per launch. So if I'm a boat owner, I would actually request for a photo of the boat launch, which I do not have in the listing because it is pretty poor, to be honest with you. And if I saw that, then I would definitely go to, Duncan Bridge Marina. I don't want to put my $100,000 boat. And I'm not good at backing up a trailer anyways. Like, that's the worst part. It's literally probably like 7 feet wide, and it's like 80 yards that you have to go down, maybe 80 feet probably backwards down this little, creaky thing. So I definitely would not use it.
I get that completely. So, but I want to share, as we're going into the next year, that a lot of the things that we're looking to adjust.
Going into this year?
This year, I know it feels like, goodness, this time's flown by already. We're already, decent chunk into January. Now's the time to really start planning all of the make adjustments to your messaging, make adjustments to your copy, make adjustments to your photos. What needs to be changed that you had? Did you take all the Christmas stuff down? Have you already got all the summer stuff up? Those extra photos.
That was 12 days ago. They should have done that. But if you haven't done it, now's the time to do it, right?
Get to it.
I'm interested. We don't have that many people on here, whether it's Anthony or anybody else that's here. Say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're from. Big thing I want to know is about that, Chris, because the official opening day of summer booking started on Christmas.
Yep.
That's my fictional thing. I started 4 years ago. Just like next month is National Co-hosting Month, right? So we're doing a huge deal in the inner circle with Patrick Switek, myself, Jose Cornejo. These are things that we want to create from a marketing perspective. Why did I create the official opening day of summer bookings on Christmas Day? So that way I created an opportunity for me to market to you, right? Not that I'm selling you anything, but I get to come in, give you free advice, tell you how to prepare, all the stuff you should be doing anyways. But we get a lot of people. I think I had like 100 people on a live, 120 people on the live broadcast on Christmas morning, right? So that's creating an opportunity to market. The national co-hosting month, which, I branded that, I started it. And literally that's going to happen in February. And you know what'll happen? We're going to start putting out social media content about that. And then that gives me an opportunity to market to those of you that are co-hosts to see, wow, what is this national thing? What's the training that's going on? How do I get access to it? Then I can say, well, the only way you can get access is to be an inner circle member, and that type of stuff. So I want you guys to kind of look at how I'm creating these marketing opportunities. And I want you guys to understand that you can create your own marketing opportunities with this type of stuff as well. And there's two components that you can leverage for this. One, with your past guests, I kind of keep them isolated, segmented off to where I can send them something different. Then I can create something cold, for, cold traffic. That's people that have no idea who Bill Faeth is in the coaching scenario, no idea about Smith Lake Retreat that you just saw that Chris was utilizing, right? So those are the things I've used the official opening day of summer bookings in my BuySell trade group posts, right? And so I let people know, hey, the official summer booking dates are now open. This is a worldwide deal. Take action now if you want the premium dates, whether you book with me or somebody else, right? So I'm really trying to educate them, but it just happens. Here's my links for my direct booking sites. Here's my links for Airbnb and Vrbo. Here's my links, to be able to make your booking now. And we're creating this urgency. I cannot emphasize enough. And one thing I will tell you, and some people have said, well, Bill uses, fake urgency and fake exclusivity. Not a chance. Never. So, and people were bringing up the ski retreat, Chris. I just slacked Chris right before the ski retreat that's in like 2 weeks. We didn't sell it out. We have one seat available. If somebody wanted to come to the room, and it's been one, we've had that thing sold for a while, 99% of the way out. And then we had, I think, one person cancel, right? And since they canceled, I'm not able to resell that seat. So I have one seat. So if anybody's interested in coming, I still actually have one seat. That is not false exclusivity. I only have 10 bedrooms available. Chris and I are, probably going to end up sharing a room that has 2 queens in it. And then everybody else takes up the other 9 rooms. So, but that if I had 50 rooms, it wouldn't be as exclusive, right? So there's only 8 of you on here right now. Hey, if anybody wants to come, let me know. I'll give you a deal, on that last seat, honestly. But that's numbers create exclusivity. Timing creates exclusivity. Numbers create urgency. Timing creates urgency. Those are 2 things I always want you to keep in mind when you are doing marketing, if you can create those. I would rather see you using urgency and exclusivity as opposed to discounts. Because please understand that, look, when you send out an email and, hey, book in the next 7 days and save 10%, 90% of your guests could give a shit about saving, or 10%, sorry, about a 10% discount. If you really study how discounts work, when you are all of us are in a luxury non-need business. Doesn't matter if you charge $100 a night or $10,000 a night. So what you have to understand is that people are typically not going to move the needle on a price conscious decision for less than 20%. It's just not enough, right? So if you really want to get something booked for a specific date, you're probably going to need to go to 20% to get them to rebook. And a lot of you don't want somebody that stayed with you in July or August or June, summertime, or if you're in a ski resort now during peak time, to give a 20% discount during peak time. Because if they stayed in peak time once, they're probably going to come back, and get peak time again.
Absolutely. And Joanna, Anthony, if you guys have any questions, we'd love to answer them too. This isn't just us talking at you. We'd love to answer any questions you guys have as well. That's what this time's for.
Is this broadcast ever with Dipson Dots every Monday? Same bat time, same bat channel, Marketing Mondays. If you guys missed a Marketing Monday, they all live on my YouTube channel. Chris, can you pop in a link to the YouTube channel? How long we've been doing this, Chris? Like almost 2 years?
It's been a while, yeah. Besides like Christmas and some random Mondays, it is we are here every Monday. Let me pop this in there. And I think what people don't, and this is actually a great YouTube thing. I can share my screen. People may not know this, but there's videos as in uploaded videos that we have, but then most YouTube channels that do live broadcasts, like we do live broadcasts, actually, they don't live in the same spot. So for example, like we're live right now, so you can see it, but if you looked under videos, you wouldn't necessarily see the Marketing Mondays. You're going to see the videos that we have of amazing content, which by the way, y'all should be subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm subscribed. But all the Marketing Mondays actually live under the live. So these are all the live broadcasts you've done, like the Arcos and with you and Patrick, or the Launch Your Direct Booking website, just 4 minutes with Phil and Scott. But all of them live under here, Tax Tuesdays, or any of the other live broadcasts we've done. They don't live under video. So if anyone's kind of looking.
Holy smokes, that's a lot of videos. 889 videos in 4 years.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is. That's 200 a year. That's more than 200 a year. Wow, that's insane. I had no idea that we had that many, of them that were up there.
Yep,
crazy stuff. And look, here's the other thing, folks. If you're doing Instagram Reels, go back to the YouTube channel, Chris.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what the exact date is. I think it's like in the next 2 weeks that it's like 90% certain that TikTok is going away. I think I don't know if anybody's trying to turn that over or not. But if you look at right in between videos and live, Chris, there's shorts.
Uh-huh.
So if you're doing Instagram Reels for your property, which I think a lot of you are, then I would make sure that you are posting these to your YouTube channel with shorts as well. We actually get more views on the shorts than we do on the long format video because we put out so many of them. Typically, I think we're creating like 3 to 5 shorts per long format video. Like this will be a 30-minute broadcast, and then our team will go in and create probably 4 or 5, 45-second, 50-second videos to be able to put out on the shorts that will drive people back, to the long format videos, right? And that's how a huge reason of how we've been able to go from like 1,100 subscribers to 5.68, 5,680 subscribers, in about 6 months. I wish I had 300 million like Mr. Beast, but that just probably isn't going to happen here. Let's see here. What did Joanne? I'm seeing in my market that folks book 2 to 3 weeks out and haven't been able to get bookings further beyond that. I did update my listing copy to read official spring season and summer season open. And are you tracking that or are you actually looking at your market lead time in a report from AirDNA or Price Labs market reports, or where are you getting that from, Joanne? And then what market are you in? That would be very helpful for us to kind of try to give you some insight. There's just different markets have different lead times. I mean, I'm in multiple beach markets, and the OBX Outer Banks in North Carolina, where I'm at in the Duck area, is a much longer lead time. We're talking like 147 days versus Gulf Shores is about 80 days. It's crazy. I'm looking at Price Labs market comps. I'm in DC. So if you're in Washington, DC, you're in an urban market. You're almost always going to be, very short term as opposed to, longer term. So the one thing, and I did this morning. I usually do it on Sundays, but had probably one of the top 3 most brutal travel days ever in my career yesterday. Actually made 17 flight changes in a 25-hour period, Chris, over Saturday and Sunday until we got home at 3:00 this morning, Monday morning, for my daughter and I. But Joanna, being in a metropolitan market like Washington, D.C., going to be completely different than the majority of us here that have tried to stay away from urban markets and, stay in vacation rental markets. So if you're looking at the Price Labs market report, one of the biggest things that I will tell you, you're not going to be able to influence the traveler's, travel schedule. It's very hard for us to do that. Easier to do, no question, in vacation rental markets and with larger properties than it is for smaller properties, in urban areas. But one of the things that I would really be focusing on is your last minute strategy, because your lead time is so short from a revenue management standpoint and a marketing standpoint. So on Sundays is typically when I go in and I lower my next immediately Sunday through Wednesday of this week and the following week. So for 2 weeks, I'll switch to 1 night minimums, and I will do 3 to 4 price point reductions on Sunday. I did nothing yesterday. So I've done it today because of my travel day. You know, and I started this morning at literally, I think it was like at 7 o'clock this morning. So I lowered Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. And so I go in and if I'm on 2-night minimums, I switch to 1 night. Then I lowered the pricing at 7 a.m. by, I think I did 5%. Took no bookings. Then I went in, and when we got done at the funeral home around 11 or 11:30 this morning, I've done my second round, and I did another 5%. I've taken 1 booking. I did this on 4 properties. I've taken 1 booking so far. And I will wait till around 3 or 4 o'clock, and I'll probably do a 3% drop. And so I keep doing, if I'm going to drop like a total of 15%, I'll divide that by 4 and do like 4%, 4%, or 5%, 5%, 3%, 3%, to where I'm doing it multiple times per day. And I use Owner Res and Price Labs. Then I force a sync so it happens immediately. I don't wait for, you know, the call of the API from Airbnb. And then I made my wife drive to the funeral home, which is, Chris knows it's in, well, he doesn't know, it's in Lebanon. It was snowing. It was like a 45-minute drive. So then I went in, and for one of the Gulf Shores properties, I went and I hit Birmingham, Alabama, Nashville, Tennessee, Chattanooga, and Atlanta buy-sell trade groups. And I just literally create 1 post into 1 group. Then I copy the copy, and I have the images all shared, all ready to go in a file. So I did the entire thing into 4 different markets about halfway there. So then I went for another property, which is my new ski in, ski out condo. And I went and I posted in the Icon groups, the Icon ski pass groups, the Epic ski pass groups, you know, and that type of stuff, not targeting the local whitefish markets that people are in. That's what everybody else does. I'm a little bit different. I'm trying to target the buyer persona to drive them to want to come to whitefish. And so it's not just about my property. It's about, hey, I just left here, you know, got home last night from 10 days of skiing at whitefish. And by the way, here's a sick ski in, ski out B&B that you can stay in. And then the Pow Pow has just been insane. And then one of the things I do is I go to Open Snow on my app, and I take a screenshot to show that we've gotten 22 inches in the last like 8 days or 7 days or whatever it was. So I'm not just selling, you know, my B&B. I'm actually helping them by telling them I'm no lying, but positioning, because I just did leave, right? And I did stay there for a couple of days. Chris and I stayed there for a few days. My wife and my oldest daughter stayed there for a few days. So, and the powder was insane. So that's where I'm going through, and I'm leveraging that. And I did the same price drops, right? So I actually was overpriced at I think it was at $398 on average. And I actually dropped all the way down to $237. And guess what happened? Ding, 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 got a 2-day booking, right? And those are the things and that all ties into the marketing, right? That's why I look at, you know, a former company that I used to use for software, and I kind of bled orange for them for the better part of a decade, HubSpot. You know, Dan Tyre, who's still an executive VP, he's been an executive VP for like 13, 14 years with HubSpot, coined the term smarketing. And it's the alignment of sales and marketing into what we call smarketing, smart marketing, right? Because the goal of marketing is to create interest for a product or service, and then sales goal is to close that potential, turn that potential prospect into a closed customer, a win, right? So they need to go hand in hand. So very rarely will I ever just do a price increase or decrease without marketing behind it. Very rarely will I go out and just do a marketing piece, whether it's an email, you know, a buy-sell trade group, you know, a Facebook ad, whatever, without also adjusting the pricing. So I want you guys to get into the mindset that those 2 things are synonymous every step of the journey.
Absolutely.
Had the pleasure of connecting with you at the SCR in the Poconos. You're welcome, Dipson Dots. What's your name, Dipson Dots? D&D.
D&D.
What do you mean about the 3-4 price reductions on Sundays? Joanna, just like I just explained, so I did it today. I reduced 5% at 7 a.m., 5% at around 11 a.m. Then I'll do 3 or 4% around 3 or 4. Hey, Cameron. Then if they're still not booked, then I'll do 3 or 4. So if I know what my major price reduction is for the day, I'm not going to do it all at once. I'm literally going to go make the 5% change, and then I'm going to sync Price Labs, and I'm going to go in and do a sync in Owner Res. So it pushes that out immediately. And I'm going to wait for 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours and see if something happens. If nothing happens, then I'm going to do it again, because I don't want to give it all away at one time, right? So think about it. If I can get a booking off that second one, I've reduced it by 10%. I'm saving that 6% at the 4 p.m. and like the 8 p.m. So we do that incrementally. And the other reason is that gives me, multiple pushes within a day, because I'm doing two things. I'm lowering my minimum from 2 nights to 1 night, and I'm decreasing pricing multiple times within 1 day. It also shows activity. One of the things with any algorithm, when we are looking to optimize on Google, Yahoo, MSN, Facebook, Instagram, they all have algorithms, right? Airbnb, Vrbo, they're all algorithms. The more activity that they can see us, the more organic, the more alive our listing, our website is, our web page, all that type of stuff. So the more that we're in it manually, less automation. That's why I don't believe in, and I'm a guy, Chris knows this, I've done SEO for 18 years, and I've been really freaking good at it. And it's about those 2 extra steps. It's about putting in the manual work, right? And that's really what revenue management is. You cannot automate all this stuff from a revenue management standpoint. And I see all these guys, Mike Sjogren, Sean Raskovich, the Danny, the B&B, whatever guy that's always in a wife beater that lives in like Brazil or something. Good. I'm glad you work for Airbnb. Who gives a fuck if you work for Airbnb? That gives you zero credibility. Wearing a wife beater on, Instagram gives you no credibility. I'm not saying he's not credible, but what's credible is, and what my point is, all these guys are trying to automate everything. And more power to you guys. Go automate everything, because that gives me such a competitive advantage if I am disciplined enough to get into my listing, to manually move images around, to manually update my copy, just like Chris was saying at the beginning of this before I jumped in and took over, to literally go in and optimize and manually post to Instagram, manually post to TikTok, manually post to Facebook, and not auto schedule. They know this stuff, folks. They know, and they're going to give me more credibility for manually doing this than they are for you when you use Hey Orca or whatever to schedule the posts into, X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. It's not always just about the best content. It usually is, but when you can put that manual process behind it, they see these things with their spiders, with their bots that are crawling all of this. They know every single move that we're making. That's why, like, if you're doing virtual stays these days, man, don't send out the link. You got to have your guest, the person doing the virtual stay, find it automatically. And don't even think about having, Cameron do, a virtual stay in the Poconos today, and then in Florida, 3 or 4 days down the road, and send the direct link to them, because then they're going to flag you, right? I got flagged, was it maybe a year ago or so, Chris, or probably about 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, because Chris stayed with me, and it took me about 3 or 4 phone calls to get it remediated, in our favor. So a lot of these things, and I can't emphasize this enough, if I give you the number one marketing piece of advice that I could ever give to anybody, and I've been a marketer for the better part of 30 years. There's only 2 things, honestly, that have allowed me to build successful businesses, and it's sales and marketing. If there's anything that you learn from me, learn how to do sales and learn how to market, how to sell your co-hosting business, how to market your B&Bs, that type of stuff, because there's nobody in this industry that's as good as me. And I'm not saying that to pound my chest and to be egotistical, but there's 2 things in any business, whether it was in my restaurant business, whether it was in my bikini business where I was drop shipping bikinis, whether it was in the limousine motor coach business, it doesn't matter. Sales and marketing is what moves the needle for everything. It is not the best product. Literally, I have some pretty awesome super properties, but if somebody had something that wasn't quite as good as me, but they could market better than me, they would make more money than I'm making. That's what it's about. And that sales and marketing is that's like 25% of building a super property. It's not just finding the right property, designing it, adding every amenity under the sun, overspending on your design and furnishing budget. It's about revenue management, and it's about marketing. It's also about being able to close when you're communicating with somebody that's requesting to book. Don't just give them what they ask for. Give them at least 2 or 3 additional value propositions that they might have missed inside of your listing when you're doing direct communication with them from this thing. Cool. Dipson Dots has one more question. Let's see. Do you have any pricing strategies to maximize occupancy and profit? I just gave it to you, Cameron. Literally, examples that I've heard are offering discounts on orphan days and offering early and late checkouts. I don't do any discounts, almost never. If somebody asks for a discount, I won't give it to them. I am always in control of setting my pricing, because every fucking time, Cameron, that we concede to a discount, this is in my mastermind, this is in my inner circle members. Chris, you see the horror stories every time. Hey, can I get this for $500 versus the $1,500 for the 2 nights or whatever it is? Always turns into a shit show. So I am personally not interested in that. I am not interested in any of you guys to be a client of mine. If you're going to ask me for a discount, the answer is always no. You get the lowest available pricing at the time that you are looking at it. It is that simple. I have no desire to mess around with, price sensitive buyers, because you do not belong in my tribe at all. That's just not who I am. I am the guy that is a value-based buyer personally. I am happy to overspend on something that creates value for me. Chris has seen it thousands of times, right? I will overspend on something that creates value for me. I am not the haggler. I am not the negotiator. I am the type of buyer that you guys want. So don't concede to the buyer personas that you don't want just to try to increase occupancy and make more money, because it will come back to bite you in the ass. You need to have a solid revenue management strategy. You need to have a solid marketing strategy. And, everything that I shared with you about the manual discounts, about really understanding your lead time. And, there's so many videos on the YouTube channel about average lead time and how you should be, if you're in the summer right now and you're 3 nights minimums, you should, when you get to the summer, you should be 4 or 5 night minimums, because we're so far out right now, right? If you're at $1,000 a night, you should be at $1,300 to $1,500 a night. I mean, I look at like, Chris, Lodge 93 as an example. If I had Airbnb owner, I would actually show you guys the calendar right now, but literally I'm almost sold out in from the second half of June through July at uber premium rates. We're talking $2,000 to $2,500 a night. Remember, this was a property that Kenny Bedwell and SDR Insights and AirDNA told me I couldn't bust $95,000, right? And I've broken 200,000 on this property. And one of the things is that super far out pricing. When you have a super high demand property, you still need to do the same thing far out, like I was teaching when we were in the middle of COVID. Raise your prices, raise your prices, raise your prices, right? So right now, I think my average July rate, I don't know, it's probably around $1,900 to $2,000. Are you looking at it, Chris, or no?
I'm trying to get there.
I don't know what it is, but last summer I was getting $1,300 to $1,400. So if I'm at $1,400 last summer and now I'm like 40-50% booked through the entire summer at $1,900, right? That's 90 days. So that's really, let's call that 45 days times an extra 500. Let's just call it $400. I'm not real smart. Let me pull out my handy dandy calculator here. 400 times 45. That's an additional $18,000 in profit. It's it hits top line, but it costs me nothing to increase that $18,000 in a 2.5 month season. That is massive fucking profit. That if we aren't doing this stuff, if we're not tracking that average lead time, if we're not honest with ourselves, if we're not using the competitor grader, if you guys miss this, you guys have to, God, I hope nobody miss this. I only showed this to the Superhost Sunday 2 Sundays ago, and also my inner circle. This is how I find and literally grade super properties. Has nothing to do with the performa, folks. This is my super property competitor grader that I use when I'm looking at properties. And when I find the diamonds in the rough, like every one of my Montana properties, every one of them are super properties. And a definition of a super property is that you are outperforming the entire marketplace. Every one of them is a super property because of that grader. Not one of those properties would underwrite on a performa using AirDNA and STR Insights. You know what happens with most of you? You back off. You don't make an offer because you're relying solely on that data, and that data is not accurate, and it's not how you forecast. That data is there to protect you on the back end in a performa and mitigate your risk. It is not to forecast what the potential is going to be in a brand new property. And that's it. That's all I've got. You're welcome, Cameron. Thank you guys for joining us on Marketing Monday. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody. Happy hosting.